Hey guys, what's going on? Joseph Ulmer here, and tonight we're back in the garage again. As you can see, maybe behind me, the Valkyrie is no longer on the lift, but this is going to be part 2 of installing the Red Eye Shiny Desmog kit on the Honda Valkyrie. Now, I apologize, I had to break it into 2 segments because, needless to say, the first one was getting rather long, where I'm trying to show you how to tear everything down, what you need to remove, and I'm trying not to... I'm being careful when I edit that I don't remove content that might be helpful, while trying not to keep too much content in there that's not going to be helpful to you and not make it interesting. So, that being said, I broke it up into 2 segments so the video wouldn't get too long. So if you haven't seen the first segment where we tear it down, check right up here for the card. That way, if you're trying to do this and you're wanting to see the tear down, that's right up here. This video is about putting the Desmog kit on the bike and getting it all buttoned back up, and also changing out the O-rings on the intake runners, because you have to remove 4 out of the 6 intake runners while you're in there. So if you have not changed out the O-rings on your intake runners yet, this would be a very good time to do so. These bikes are getting older. If you don't know when the last time they were changed out, or if you're starting to see that little bit of film around where the chrome intake horn, and I can show you here. So basically, if you're starting to see that little bit of crud where that chrome intake horn meets the head, it's probably a good time to change out the O-rings on your intake runners. So do me a favor, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you have, make sure you've hit that notification bell so you get notifications every time I post a new video. Share this with your friends. Rate the video when it's all over with. And if you have any questions, put them down in the comments section. Keep your eyes peeled throughout the video. I will have the part numbers in there for any of the parts that I use that are directly from Honda, such as the O-rings for the intake runners or anything else. The Red Eye Shiny Desmog kit, you order that as a whole kit. Just look up Red Eye Technical Services online, or Google search Red Eye Shiny Desmog kit for Honda Valkyrie. I believe that's how I found it. So anyway, we're going to dive right into the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, please don't forget to share it and rate it when it's all over with. I hope you enjoy part 2. It's the next day. I did already go through and clean out the ports and the heads. There's a little bit of carbon left in the bottom of that one. But when you do that, just be really careful. The instructions say use a popsicle stick or something else soft. You don't want to scratch up that port. That way the O-rings seal very well. Once you get most of the big chunky carbon that you can see on this rag here, once you get most of that out, it's actually really easy to go in there, kind of twist up a rag, spray a little bit of brake clean on it, and you can get in there and that'll allow you to remove the rest of the carbon buildup from inside the ports. Get them fairly good and clean. Now, let's make sure you got a good view here. Okay, we're going to go through assembling these plugs real quick. So, I'm just going to open them all up. We need to open up this package. And each plug first is going to get one of these Teflon rubs, just like that. Then each one is going to get an O-ring. And if you're like me and it's cold out here, it's cold in the garage, and these O-rings have been sitting out here, you can take these and put them in some warm water for a couple minutes, and that'll soften them up a little bit, make them a little stretchier, help them go on. Now that we got all the O-rings on, before we put these in the head, we just want to lube these up with a little bit of clean engine oil to help them slide in without pinching. So as we get ready to put each one in, we'll do that, and if you notice, once the O-rings are on, the Teflon rub can't slide back off. So now that that's done, we're going to get our 4 hold downs out for the 4 plugs, and we're also going to get out our 4 Teflon Snubbers. These are just shims in case we have to adjust any of them. Okay, and with our Teflon Snubbers, 2 of these need to step up, whoop, to the top of the plug. So, heaven's sakes, these Teflon guys are slick. We're just going to pop them in, and that's what I mean by step up. So when you snap them in, you want to snap them into the big side. That will center them up on the top of the plug. If you notice, it's like that. So let me correct that. And then we're going to have 2 that are going to be a step down. So they're going to snap in the other way. And the reason 2 of them step up is because they're coming off of the head. So the other 2 are coming off of an intake manifold bolt, so they need to step down. Okay, those are all assembled. Now, got a little bit of good leftover Honda GN4 here. So it's not going to take much. Just get some on the tip of my finger. That's really all it's going to take. Just enough. To get that O-ring nice and shiny. So those are all ready to go in. It's going to be easiest to see the procedure for this on this back one. So we're going to take our plug, insert our plug in, gently push it down, and it's going to snap in nice and tight. You want to make sure it goes all the way down. And then our hold down is going to come right across like that. You see we've got a gap down here. So for these 2, we have these 2 thicker shims. And we need our original bolt that we took out. Where did it go? Duh. Sorry, it's right here. Okay, so bolt, shim, the intake manifold bolts are supposed to be torqued to 6.5 foot-pounds. I don't happen to have a torque wrench, unfortunately, that goes that low, so we're just going to take them down, get them nice and snug. 6.5 foot-pounds is not much. Okay, so that's nice and tight. It's not going anywhere. Now we're going to repeat this process throughout the rest of the head, but with one caveat. Okay, I have this Honda part number. These are the intake O-rings. So, as we work our way through, I know this is not going to be the best position, but I'm trying to get you comfy there. We want to check and make sure our vacuum cap here is in good condition and it's on and tight, which it is. I'm going to clean this up. We're going to take a pick and without digging into the aluminum, very gently get in behind this O-ring and pop that sucker out. You can see how flattened out that is. Figure that sucker's as hard as it is, it's probably as old as a bike. Then we're going to take our our new O-ring. It's going to go right in here. It should be a nice snug fit. There's a little bit of a lip to hold it in, which is perfect. And then, got our rag out of the way. Make sure we don't have any dirt or crud up there that's going to interfere with the fit and the sealing. And our clamp is still there, good. And we're going to very gently try and work this into the clamp and slide it in at the same time. We lost the O-ring. Keep an eye on that O-ring. That sucker will fall out. If you pinch it or cut it, you're back to square one. So, we'll try again. Pushing up, slightly rotating. And if we have to, we can set it and then always work the carburetor, the boot on the carburetor back down onto it. So I'm going to get this first bolt in the back started to keep it located in position so it doesn't move around too much on that O-ring. Now we're going to take our plug. We're going to get it into the port up here in front. Snap down. And then before we can start this bolt, this is the one that gets the step down. You can see that. And then we'll start our rear bolt. Okay, now this one, even all the way down, there's still just a tiny bit of play in that bracket. I could tighten it up, but if I tighten it up, I gotta get it back out. There it goes. So what we need to do is put one of our thin shims in this one. So we're going to take our thin shim, we're going to stick it over top of the Teflon, and we're going to very gently, so we don't drop it between the timing cover and really have a problem. Oh shoot, I may have spoke too soon. Come on. There we go. Now, I'm going to try and very gently and gingerly, so we don't lose it, swing it back over into position, and then we'll tighten her all up. Okay. Like I said, this one's 6.5 foot-pounds, but we're going to have to kind of do it by feel, because I don't have a torque wrench that'll go that low, or for that matter get into these tight spots. Okay, it's tight. Now I should be able to put some pressure on this and reseat the intake tube into the boot, if it'll be nice enough to cooperate. There's a rubber tab on the inside, and the rubber tab was in the wrong spot and putting outward pressure on it. It wouldn't let me seat it all the way. Alright, so now that we've got that seated, I can tighten that clamp up here in a minute, and we'll be all set on this one. I'm going to repeat the same process on the other two uppers, but before I do, I'm going to show you the procedure for the lower bracket. So for the underside of the head, we need one of these. One of our graphite gaskets. And these Allens are the original bolts. We use 2 of the shorter bolts, just like this. No sealer. It's a graphite gasket, so they're soft. We've already cleaned it up last night. And this needs to go. Crap, this is the hard side. I'll try one bolt at a time here. Right. Oh, heaven's sakes. Right there. I know my hand's right in your way too. Sorry. I apologize. Okay. First one started. Then we can line up the other hole. And sometime this year. Sometimes it doesn't pay to be a big guy with fat fingers. Okay. And these torque to 9 foot-pounds. And as you torque them down, you want to try and alternate sides, make sure everything stays nice and even. It is a 10 mil. Okay. I'm going to have a wrench for that one because this. There it is. Just take your time. Don't overdo it. Especially if you don't have a torque wrench. It'll go that low. Or is small enough to get in here is the big thing. Here we go. That should be plenty tight. Okay. Now we've got that on. I'm going to repeat the same procedure on the other side, and I'll bring you guys back here in a little bit to show you what it all looks like. Now, just so you know, on all these, I will be replacing these flattened out O-rings on all my intake runners, and I think the next one, I'm going to put just a light coating of oil around here to help it slide back in, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with the vacuum lines. Okay guys, so now I'm on the left side of the bike. You can see I've removed the intake horn for the number 4 cylinder so that I can re-gasket the bottom of it. And there's something else that we needed to do with it. I'm going to show you what that is. While we're going through and re-gasketing this intake horn, in the red eye kit we have these vacuum plugs. These vacuum plugs are the plugs to plug off the vacuum line that goes to the paravalve actuator. So, we're going to take one of our plugs. If you remember, the pair valve actuator, the vacuum lines for it came off of the number 3 and 4 cylinders, which are your 2 centers. We're just going to slide that plug over. They give you these nice finger style spring clamps, which are great. Love these things, well over a standard clamp. Then we're just going to get her on there, get her tight. Then I'm going to rotate that clamp around where it's just going to be up out of the way. And then, like I did on the front 2 cylinders, same deal. We're just going to take a pick. You can see, oh my goodness, that one's cracking. These things are so dry and crusty. Get those flattened out O-rings out. Get a new one right back in, just like that. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil up on the top of the intake horn. It does make such a difference. Just get that rubbed around up there. We can always wipe the excess off later. Trick is, get it started into that rubber intake. Oh crap. Get our vacuum tube out of the way. And then just very carefully watch that O-ring. Because we're getting right up against the other side of the intake port. And we don't want to catch it, knock it loose, or cut it. Kind of use a screwdriver there just to walk it back where it's not going to make contact, and it should have rotated right in. There we go. There it rotated, and we had to move the tab on the back of that one. It's nice and gentle is all it takes, and we're in the right spot. Should be nice and easy to start our bolts. There we go. Wiggle it just a little bit. Alright. We'll bolt that one back down. Then I can tighten up all 3 clamps on this side. And this side of the intake will be done. And I'll move over to the other one and get it knocked out. Then I'll come back and show you where we are. Alright guys, so while I had the camera shut off, I went ahead and got the Desmog pieces on the right side installed. We got the plug here. The plug that's buried down there with the spacer. And then down here on the bottom side, if you can see it in the dark, which you probably can't, we've got the plate and the 2 bolts back there with the graphite gasket. So those are all on. The last and final piece to the Desmog kit itself we have to install goes right here on the bottom of the air box. And it is our big vacuum port plug. Right there. Now, move all our clamps out of the way. Flip this bad boy over. Those 2 in the rear. That's for the crank vent. That is the drain for the air box. And this one goes right here. She just slid right on. See? Might work that clamp up. Oh, where'd my pliers go? I'll get my pliers and I'll work that clamp up just a little bit, just to make sure that it's, if I can't do it by hand, just to make sure she's not going to go anywhere. I think we'll be alright. So here in a minute I'll get this reinstalled on the bike. I can take you through that when we get there. Now, one thing I am going to do is no, that's the tank vent. Where did it go? Okay, right here. this vacuum line runs down to the number 4 carburetor, and that is for the vacuum petcock. I'm going to replace this because, as you can see, it's definitely not, it's gotten stiff. It hasn't cracked yet, but if that cracks or starts leaking, that could leave me stranded on the side of the road because it'll shut my fuel off. So, while I was out today, I picked up a roll of 5/32, which is 4 millimeter, 5/32 US, 4 mil vacuum hose, and we're just gonna transfer a little clamp over, and then all I'm doing is just basically tracing them out, and I'll have to coil that back up. Then I'm going to give myself a couple extra inches just to be on the safe side. There we go. I thought I had some other vacuum hose around, but I guess not. I always try and keep some handy. But there's the other clamp. Come on, butter. Get that back on there. And then I'm just going to route this back through. It comes out right next to the fuel supply line. Runs down over there and runs down to that number 4 carburetor. I take that back. It goes to the number 6 carburetor for the vacuum petcock. So we're gonna route that down through there. Oh, my poor light's dying on me. Actually, yeah. And should be able to work it right onto the take the clamp off, put the clamp on first, get the line on, and then get the clamp back on the line. There we go. Clamps back on there. Now once I set the tank, we'll put our new vent line on right up next to our fuel feed line. Oh, that'll all be set. Now one last thing I am going to do, we need to take, put this up here where you can see, we're going to take this cover very carefully off of both sides, because I noticed something earlier when I was putting this back together. And for all you guys with higher mileage bikes, I'm going to show you. I'm going to take this chrome cover off. Now, right here, all of these are loose. I don't know if they vibrated loose over time or what the heck the deal is, but every single one of them on this bike, for one reason or another, has gotten loose. So I'm going to work my way through all the way around the bike, and I'm going to tighten all of these clamps up. And if you have trouble getting to them with a Phillips screwdriver, an 8mm works just as well. Alright guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video installing the Red Eye Shiny Desmog kit for this bike. Hopefully it helps you out. If you have any questions, by all means don't hesitate to ask. Put them down in the comments section. I'll try and answer them for you. If you check down in the description box for this video, I will put a link to Red Eye Technical Services, because I know a lot of the Valkyrie guys are still looking for these kits, and they are still available through him. He is still in business. I saw a question come up about that on the Valkyrie forums the other day. Now, just as a quick kind of overview here, in the kit, in the instructions, it doesn't say anything. He even says you don't have to remove the engine guards. It's not a big deal to remove them if you've got it torn down this far, and it made it 10 times easier getting to the front one over here and getting that pipe, the air tube that goes down here, out. Excuse me. Doesn't say anything in the instructions about removing the exhaust. I saw a video where they said you had to remove the exhaust a while back, so I'd already had it off because of the work I'm doing. It wasn't a big deal. So do you have to remove it? Not really, but I bet you I would. It made it much easier to get in here without having the exhaust headers in it, to get to that back there without having the headers coming up. Now I do have to put the airbox back in, and as you can see, it looks like a bug down there on the floor. So it's going to be a fight to get that back down through here and onto the carburetors. I know that. I'm going to do that, and then I need to run, as you can see, that sucker got pinched. I need to run a new auxiliary cable, but the place I went didn't have one today, so I'm going to have to go find a new auxiliary cable. I want to run that while the tank is still off. That way I can run it down along the frame as opposed to up over the tank. Then I don't have to worry about it. Just get it down and out of the way. I'm going to do some other checking and double check any other vacuum lines. Anything else, if I got a vacuum line that looks questionable, I'm going to replace it. I've got plenty of vacuum line. So I'm going to do that while I got the tank off. And then hopefully I'll be getting this tank back on here in the next day or so. Probably not going to do that tonight. We'll get the tank on. We'll get the engine guards back on. I've got a set of auxiliary lights around here somewhere. If I can find them, I'll show them to you, to replace the ones that you can see down there on the engine guard. Those have been on here since I got the bike. Both of them, the lenses are broken from gravel and stuff coming up and hitting them. So they've seen better days. I did have a set that I bought from my old Goldwing that I never used, that I could have put on here. If anybody has a line on some chrome teardrop LEDs like that, they don't have to be real big, let me know. I'd be interested in them. But anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching. Please do me a favor. Don't forget to rate this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you have, make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you get notifications every time I post a new video, because there's going to be a couple more in this series yet. Oh, while we're at it, just so everybody remembers, we also replaced all of the O-rings underneath these intake tubes because they were dried out, flat, and just done. So just to give you a heads up of what we've got coming down here for the shifter, I ordered a shifter buddy last night. I have a shifter buddy coming. I have a new shift shaft seal that goes, you can't see it, it's too dark, and I think this light's dead. Well, yeah, right up there is where the shift shaft comes out of the transmission. You can see all that oil. It's been seeping for a while. I knew that was coming. I've got the seal. I've got a shifter buddy on the way. So I'm going to take you through installing a shifter buddy and a new seal. I'm also going to show you what the cage nut modification is in the rear fender. We got to get the bags mounted back up. And then hopefully within the next couple days I'll have it ready to go back on the road, because this weekend or later this week we're supposed to be back up in the 60s and 70s. So guess what? I'm riding. It's been way too long, guys. So like I said, do me a favor, rate, comment, subscribe, share. Don't forget, get out there and get your hands dirty. You might have a little fun doing it. We will see you on the next one.